Governor, Ronald Reagan, I think we could use another one. Now, that's a pretty popular thing to say in Republican circles, but what I mean by that is somebody who goes right back at the liars with facts. Do we have somebody like that today?
Well, we've got a lot of them, but they're maybe not as well known as Ronald Reagan, but we've got people on campuses all across America that need our support doing just that. And boy, he gives us great encouragement. You realize it wasn't just sitting at a podium. He was saying this as governor right up front when these sorts of radical things were happening back in the 60s. They're happening again today.
What is the appropriate thing to do when it comes to college campuses? Because I'm not like people on the right, or at least a lot of them, who dismiss college as unimportant. They'll grow up once they start getting a paycheck. Well, we see the status of corporate America now. That's not the case. They're not growing up. They're getting indoctrinated at these communist finishing schools, and they're taking those politics to the boardrooms.
We've got to fight the battle every well. We've got to have a long game to try and bring those campuses back. So the two go hand in hand. You're right. Back in the 80s, when Ronald Reagan was the president and I was in school and eventually went off to college, yeah, there were more liberal professors than not. There was certainly a bias out there, but you could still have a voice. In the 90s, we started to see political correctness seep in. And today, it's just outright cancel culture. We see it not only in our campuses, we see it in our culture overall. We even see it creeping into our communications with the censorship from big tech. So I think there's two things that have to happen with campuses, both involved in fighting back. One is we got to step up and level the playing field. We've got to fight for free speech. We've got to counter the cancel culture itself so that conservatives have a voice. And then once we're able to have a voice on campuses, we've got to do a better, more effective job of not conceding any ground. We've got to call the left out every step of the way. We know that socialism failed, not just in the past, but even as we speak today in places like Cuba and Venezuela. We've got to tell students that story, mix the facts with the emotion. The two go hand in hand. When you talk to people who come here from old socialist countries and from former communist countries, they'll tell you they love America probably more than anyone who was born here because they know what they get in socialist countries and they like the freedom and opportunity right here in America.
Governor, let's focus on the cancel culture portion of that for a second. What does fighting back against that look like? I understand that looks like different things to different people. I have been a proponent of, go right back at them. Try to cancel some of them until they back off, because they're not going to back off until they feel some sort of pain. But I realize that may not be for everyone. What does fighting back against it actually look like?
Well, it's a combination of things. One thing we've been very effective at, for example, even at UC Berkeley, arguably one of the most liberal campuses in the world, they had a policy that effectively blocked conservatives. They claimed they were open to anybody speaking, but they put up these artificial barriers in terms of astronomical security fees, limits on when people could speak, prohibiting certain advertising if they thought that speakers might trigger folks. We took them to court. We won that battle. They were forced to settle and change their policy. If we can win at UC Berkeley, we can win anywhere. So on one hand, it's fighting for free speech. But to the point you make on the other part, I think against the corporate elite, the Coca-Colas, the Deltas, the Major League Baseball, when they push back, we should counter by saying, hey, we're not going to take our hard-earned dollars and use them for companies and corporations, organizations who flat out back things that we disagree with. And that's not canceling them out. That's just saying we're not going to be party to conceding any ground and giving them any relief if they don't do the things that are aligned with our values.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.